All right, boys, welcome back to another bootcamp video. All right, today I'm going to be talking about emotions, and I just realized that when I was making the whole bootcamp at the start, I actually skipped day 4. So this is going to be day 4 of the bootcamp. I know we're already on like day 12 or whatever, but I'm gonna put this back as day 4 so you guys can see it. So yeah, I'm going to be talking about how to manage your emotions because managing your emotions as a day trader is very, very necessary if you actually want to make it and print money in the market just like me. So let's get into emotions, all right? You feel them every day, and the main ones you're going to be feeling is FOMO, which is fear of missing out on a trade. This usually happens when you see big fluctuations, big, moves to the upside, to the downside, big moves where you're like, okay, shoot, I gotta enter, I gotta get in on this. I can't be left out. I can't miss this opportunity. So fear of missing out is a big one. Another one could be anxiety. When you're in a trade, you're constantly looking at it. You're looking at the price, the P&L, go up and down as you go into positive and negative. And then this will lead you to maybe adjust your stop loss or take profit or even close the trade early just because you don't want to lose. So that's another. We got FOMO, we got anxiety, and honestly, anger. Okay, anger is another one that once you take a trade and you take a loss, you can feel very, very angry at yourself and start to even blame other things in your life. Maybe it was the market's fault, which is most definitely not. Maybe it was, someone else's fault. And then you'll take out this anger on, guess what? Everyone else around you, your friends, your family. And that'll just lead to a lot of negative scenarios and negative experiences in your life, right? So we got FOMO, anxiety, and anger. Those are the big three, all right, for the negative side, all right? And yeah, I'm going to talk about the positive emotions that can also be bad at the same time. So feeling happy or so if you're happy, right? When you win a trade, you're like, yes, 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 yes. It's gonna be a great day. I'm gonna be so good, right? That's happy, all right? That's not necessarily bad, but I'll get into why it could be, not beneficial for you. Another one would be prideful, right? You're like, okay, you just won this trade, you're really happy. And then you start like acting as if you're on, the high horse, you're the king of the world, right? You rule the markets. You're like, nothing can stop me, right? You'll get humbled very, very quickly for sure if this is your type of mindset. You do not want this mindset. You don't want to be prideful, especially when it comes to the markets, right? So you got happy, you got prideful, and you got excited, all right? If you're super excited and you're super eager to take a trade every single day, this could lead to overtrading and revenge trading, right? Training you to be like, okay, well, I took one trade, let me take another and another and another. And that could lead to even more losses or a big loss at the end of the day, right? Another thing is if you keep trading and then you end up in profit at the end of the day and you stop, that could also be bad as well. That's teaching yourself that, okay, I can make it back as long as I try to do it enough, as long and I'll get lucky, right? That's a gambler's mindset, and that's not a mindset we want to adopt as professional traders. Okay, so we covered the big three for the negatives. What was it? FOMO, fear of missing out, anxiety, and anger. And then we covered the three big ones for the positives: happy, prideful, and excitedness or eagerness to actually take a trade. So these are the main emotions. One of them is going to be in the negatives, one of them is going to be in the positives, but they both can affect your mindset when trading. All right, you go through a ton of emotions when trading, and you should be able to get to a point where there's not any emotions left. All right, it sounds kind of weird. You're like, well, what do you mean by emotion? No emotions left. You mean emotionless? How am I going to do that? I experience things every day and I'm emotional about it. It's not bad to be emotional when you take a trade. It's bad to act on these emotions when you're in a trade or to take a trade, right? If you act on these emotions, if you acknowledge them and get them out, right? And you actually disprove of them, and you're like, okay, well, I'm following my model. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I'm good. I'm going to put my hands. I'm going to sit on my hands. I'm just going to wait for the trade to play out. And if it doesn't play out, boom, journal the trade, educate yourself. What did I do wrong? What did I do right? And so on, right? The big thing is acknowledging these emotions and having these emotions, just not acting on them. If you act on anger, if you act on anxiety, if you act on fear of missing out, all these things could lead to bad trades. They could lead to negative P&Ls. They could lead to loss of big amounts of money, right? Losing a lot of money. And that's one thing you have to limit in trading, right? You don't want to take so many losses to the point where it could lead to your mental health. It could lead to depression. It could lead to maybe even suicidal thoughts based on how much money you've actually lost. That's why we need to limit the amount of losses we take. And by doing that, we handle our emotions, right? Because most of your losses are going to come from overtrading or revenge trading or trading when you're not supposed to, all right? Overtrading is when you take way too many trades. For personally, I limit my trading session to one trade per day. There's pretty much only one setup per day, maybe two, that I actually see in the markets and based on my strategy. So why would I even need to take 4 or 5 or 8, right? You shouldn't. Exactly. The next one is going to be revenge trading. You take a loss, you're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then you look back at the market, right? And then you see your setup again. You're like, oh, wait a second. Maybe you just wanted to stop me out and let me get back in on this trade, right? And yeah, maybe sometimes it'll play out. Maybe it's just stop rated you. But you got to know when it actually did stop rate you and when you're letting your emotions get the best of you there. Okay? So that's revenge trading, believing that you can make the money back and that it could lead to a bigger loss on the day, which would affect your psychology even worse, right? And then number 3, right? Taking a trade when you're not supposed to. Why would you need to take a trade? Why would you feel the need to take a trade when there's nothing there in front of you, right? You're acting on emotion, right? Exactly. You're not actually seeing your mechanical setup play out in front of you. You're saying, oh, shoot, my gosh, well, it's going up and I knew it was going to go up and I got to click right now. I got to click buy right now so I can retire my mom. I could, be a millionaire, right? Like, whoa, slow down, okay? Nothing great comes from quick success. You gotta build it up. You gotta build the discipline. You gotta show up every day for yourself. And by instilling these good habits, you eliminate the emotional side of trading, and that's exactly what you should do. I'm not saying you shouldn't be mad when you lose a trade. You should. You should look at it as you should be mad, but you should improve, right? You should improve yourself based on that emotion. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be happy when you win, right? You should be happy when you win, but you shouldn't let it consume you and turn into pride, right? Or eagerness to even make it more, right? That's another thing with over trading. You could take a win and you're like, okay, let me take another one and another one. And then you end up losing on the day. You end up in the negatives. And that's on you. That's the thing. It's on you. You have to blame yourself. You have to take personal responsibility, accountability for your actions. Because if you don't and you blame it on everything else, it's not going to be a good look for you. You're not mature, and you're not mature enough to the fact that you need to actually take accountability for your actions. That goes for everything in life. If it's your fault, you know it's your fault. Why would you feel the need to blame it on somebody else, right? Being honest is probably one of my most sought out virtues, and it's one of the most important virtues to me. And being honest with yourself and those around you will only make you better, right? Because whether it's something good or bad, at least you know it's the truth and you're not lying about anything, okay? So that being said, I pretty much covered all the emotions that you're going to have to deal with trading or day trading, the NASDAQ or any other pair or any other stock or index you trade, but it's all going to happen, all right? So that's why you need to get a hold of your emotions, keep your emotions in check, acknowledge them, but do not act on them, right? Because that could lead to over trading, revenge trading, all these different things that will lead to you possibly losing. And exactly, right? Trading is not 100%. You're not going to win every single time. You should all know this and you should adopt this mindset. However, you should be able to limit your losses to an amount that, one, you're proud of, and two, it doesn't ruin your psychology. Because the moment your psychology is ruined, you're cooked. I'll be honest. You're cooked. You're never making it in trading. You're cooked because you'll just be like, well, damn, this is a scam. I need to get out of this. I've lost so much money. It's never gonna work. And then I'll end up doing something you hate or whatever. I mean, I don't know your lives, but that's something that I will never let happen to me, right? Because you got to be disciplined with yourself, be honest with yourself, take accountability, manage your emotions to the best of your abilities. Yes, you will slip up, but it's important that you acknowledge that, you try to improve, and you try to be better in every single aspect of your life. And that will ultimately reflect your trading sessions. Okay? So that's it for day 4 of the bootcamp. I know it's not day 13, but I'm doing day 4 because I forgot to film it way back when. So yeah, emotions happen in trading. Get a hold of them. I believe in you guys. I'm praying on all your success. Okay. And yeah, that's it for today's video. And I will see you guys in the next bootcamp vid tomorrow. All right. Peace out, boys.